Greetings. Well, I still have a little bit of darkness. I don't have a great picture coming from the camera showing me here. And as you can see, I'm still having to wear dark color instead of red. And this is Friday, and I have to go to work. And I always wear red on Fridays. But when I had only red on, you couldn't have seen anything. I had to turn off most of the lights in here. And what I'm using is a lamp that my dad brought me back in, I think, 1971. And it's one of those lamps, where you put the bulb in it, the long bulb in it. But it's the only one that I don't look stupid. So let me catch you up on what's been happening. So I had the problem, and something said, you know what, let's go look it up on DuckDuckGo and see if I can find a way to fix it. So I go to DuckDuckGo and I go through all these things that the Dell website said might settle your problem. It didn't settle my problem. None of them settled my problem. I rebooted the computer a few times. I went to this thing where you could change like the brightness. And supposedly you can change the colors. It didn't change any colors. It didn't do any of that kind of stuff. It didn't do anything. And so I'm sitting there, it's like, goodness, I paid $1,000 for a laptop through the mail. I'm never doing anything that stupid again. I don't care. I don't trust any of these people. I'm not necessarily saying that it's Newegg's fault, but I should have bought it at Best Buy. Now, they didn't have what I wanted at Best Buy, but still, I should have just bought it at Best Buy, and I wouldn't have this issue to deal with. So I decided that I was going to try to reach Dell on Monday. Turns out they didn't have a phone number. They have a phone number for sales, but they don't have a phone number to get any assistance, to find out, what can we do with this computer? What can what can go on? And I was doing something called Telegram with a friend of mine, and she said, well, is it still under warranty? Never thought about it. It never even occurred to me. So I said, well, I don't know. I bought it from Newegg in January. I don't know when, the warranty runs out. And she says, well, warranties usually run out after a year that you've had it, not when you bought it. So it took me a while, but I found the Dell website, and it took me 10 to 15 minutes to fill out all this information because, well, they just want all this stuff. They didn't just want my name. They wanted everything: address, phone number, other phone number. We get the test to see if it's you. How would you know it's me? But they did that. They sent it to the phone. They sent it to my tablet, which was really irksome. And then when we did all of that, then they sent me an email and they wanted me to give all that same information a second time. So I did that. And then when that was finished and they said, okay, we've got everything set, it says, okay, we'll get back to you in 7 to 10 days. So I didn't even get to tell them what my problem was. I didn't get to ask if I was possibly still under warranty. So I probably won't find out until sometime next week. Hopefully it'll be Monday. If it comes in on Thursday, well, I have to do what I have to do. But it's just convoluted. And one of my friends said, or the same friend who told me about warranty said, why did you buy a Dell? And I said, well, because one of my other friends, recommended it. And it's interesting because I had a Dell laptop, although it wasn't one that I bought some years ago. And it was like a work laptop. And it was okay, but there was things it couldn't do. And, they're for work. They're for organizations. They're not necessarily for home use. And the friend who recommended it to me didn't use a Dell at his home, but that's just how life is. Anyhow, I had to get to this period of calming myself down, not having all the anger. I had to chill. I had to take, okay, I'm saying sleeping pills, but in essence, it's this pill that I bought at the grocery store where I could add that along with something else that I took every night, being diabetic, just to help me get to sleep because I was averaging between 2.5 to 3.5 hours of sleep. That wasn't going to get it done long term. You know, we just have to sometimes figure out a way to stay calm and hopefully find people who are going to give us recommendations on what we can do to try to fix the problem. Because last Saturday, before the Monday, I'm going through DuckDuckGo again, looking for local computer outlets where maybe I could take it to them. And it was going to cost about $1,000. It said anywhere between $800 and $1,200, and I was irked by that. And I was irked by that because I had a tree that fell in my backyard, and that cost $1,500. Big tree. If it had fallen toward the house, it would have hit the house, and at least insurance would have covered it. So I had to take care of that. I couldn't just let that stay out there. I probably could have, but we got nature out there, and I didn't want nature being that close to the house. If they need to stay back in the woods where the trees are, fine. But I just didn't want them up against the house. You never know what you're going to end up with. Of all things, many years ago, I had a star-faced mole. Deceased, but it was in the basement. And when my ex said, let's call, someone to come in and see that, the guy shows up, he looks at it and says, that's a star-faced mole. I said, yeah, we figured that out. We looked that up. And he says, well, we don't really see a lot of those. That's a rare thing in this area. And supposedly you only have one of those every 1.5 miles. I wonder how they do their thing, How do they have babies? How do they do whatever else? I don't know. So I had that, and I've got some other things I really need to take care of. And the last thing I needed to worry about was paying a whole lot more money. And I didn't want to have to go anywhere else and buy another laptop for less money than what this one cost. You have to chill. You have to basically take more time in looking at these things. Like I said, I'm not going to say that Newegg was a bad company, but they did take the entire payment out of my checking account when I was supposed to be able to pay it in 4 installments. That wouldn't have hurt. That would have made me feel a little bit better, but it's just life. Anyway, I'm catching up on this one here, and it's still goofy. One of these days, I'll be able to actually have this laptop in here that works properly, because right now, I haven't loaded much onto the laptop, so I'm still using my old computer, which is in one of my other bedrooms. I have a 5-bedroom house. Don't hate me. But it's in another room, and when I had the camera on it, it was dragging, and there's other things on there, and that explains why this video is going to look a lot better. The camera, it is what it is. Anyway, my name's Mitch Mitchell. I put it out there. Let's see how it goes. Y'all have a wonderful weekend.